الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Today, inshallah, will be our student Afzal Khan Farouz Khan will be defending his master degree with the title Joint Movement Analysis using Kinect for Motor Disability. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
I am a master's student for Computer Engineering Department who is presenting my master thesis defense for the topic Joint Motion Analysis for Motor Disability using Kinect. The project has been supervised by two eminent doctors, Dr. Abdulaziz and Dr. Nazir Al-Osmani. Before proceeding to the next, before proceeding to the study that
you are applying your thesis now, or what?
Yes,
I saw you when you changed my thesis. Are you applying your thesis?
He is flipping the
yes. Yes.
Do it again, I didn't see it. MashaAllah, yeah.
So,
proof of concept.
Proof of concept. I had to take the permission from Dr. Nazir for using this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And before we proceed further for our study, for my defense, we need to know why I'm conducting this study and why this thesis came into the picture. There will be 1 million Saudi disabled patients. That's quite disheartening to hear by 2020 as per Washington Report on Middle East Affairs 2004. That's huge. That is usually going to impact the Saudi.
Americans don't know what happened in Saudi Arabia.
That is the report.
It's a fake report.
What else? I don't know.
Americans
Maybe.
don't know.
They tell all pencils.
Okay. Apart from that fact, the healthcare practitioners are using therapeutic simulation and motion tracking devices in rehabilitation process. Motion analysis is a widely used diagnostic tool used by physiotherapists for rehabilitation purpose. But the problem with motion analysis is it's quite a costly affair. That's precisely the reason why it is not available everywhere. The objective for the study was, when we first met to describe what is going to be the objective, we came to the conclusion that we will be using a Kinect system as a portable and low-cost marker-less system for motion tracking as well as estimating muscle activities for rehabilitation to diagnose patients with motion problems. There are presently two kinds of methods available for motion tracking. One is the marker-based system and marker-less system. I will be going to the next slide, which represents the marker-based system, which is currently being actively used in the market. One is the reflective marker that is seen in the first figure. The second one is the optical motion capture system, which is widely being used in the gaming industry as well as animation. Third is the infrared sensor that is being used. But these marker-based systems, they have a kind of a drawback. The first drawback is that marker placed on a subject influences the motion of influences their motion. They are not free to move around. Controlled environment is needed to acquire the desired result. Marker placement on subject is time consuming, and the most important part is that it is very expensive and it causes skin artifacts. The markerless systems, there are few markerless systems available in the market. One is the Coda Motion that I came across through one of my supervisors, that this is quite a good system. But it turned out to be very expensive for our study. The second is the Kinect Xbox, which is a gaming console, the one that I am using it for presentation. It is a gaming console from Microsoft and Organic Motion. They have their own markerless system. In this study, we will be talking about Kinect Xbox mainly. This is the device that we zeroed it on for performing our trials and study. As we progress, we found that there are 4 studies that we can conduct on this topic, which was the initial step and then progressing to the end step. The first was the feasibility study of markerless gait tracking using Kinect. The second study that we conducted was accuracy of Kinect within tracking motion. Impact of using multiple Kinect multiple Kinect cameras on the accuracy of motion tracking, and correlating EMG signal with motion analysis through Kinect. As there are many tasks which can be performed by motion analysis, this task from simple stand was suggested by one of the project supervisors, Dr. Ehab, because he was facing some dire issues for tracking his subjects, his patients in the clinic, in the hospital. So he asked us, so we zeroed into this simple stand task, although it looks to be quite easy task which we perform on a daily basis, but it's one of the most complex tasks that I found into the study. And then moving forward to the next slide. And there are very few materials available for this sit to stand task. Very few studies have been conducted. And none of them were for this motion analysis using Kinect or this markerless systems. Now I will be talking about why this Microsoft Xbox that is available here on the table, and why and how it works. It's a motion sensing gaming console for Xbox that is sensing me in front of it. It provides range camera technologies for hands-free movement, and it consists of a RGB camera, 3D depth sensor, and multiple microphones for audio commands and other things. It captures data at a frame at 30 frames per second. This is the hardware, which looks like this. (3D depth sensor). Kinect uses 3D depth sensing for generating the skeleton and knowing the subject where it is placed in the 3D environment. First of all, an invisible light source illuminates the subject. That is usually the infrared images that projects a spectral pattern. The sensor chip available in the system, it measures distance light travels to the subject and to each pixels within the chip. The chip calculates the distance from where how far the subject is and how far is standing. The embedded software available in the system, it uses depth map to perceive and identify objects in real time, and the end result is what we are seeing it for analyzing and for playing. This is the information that is provided here for the 3D depth sensors. The sensor basically uses time to measure the distance of object, whatever the reflection that is going back to the sensor, and measure how far the subject is for motion tracking. Now we will be talking about the field of view of the Kinect. It has an ideal range of 0.8 to 4 meters, but practical usage it is efficient from 1.2 to 3.5 meters, and a viewing range of 43 degrees vertical and 57 degrees horizontal. Kinect provides three kinds of output basically. The RGB mode, that is the normal camera, the depth, and the skeleton. In this study, we have extensively used the skeleton feature of this product. At any given time, Kinect is able to recognize 6 subjects and is able to track two subjects facing the sensor. The skeleton tracking. This feature produces the joints. It has got 20 joints. It has got 20 joint features for any subject who is in front of the Kinect, and it measures x, y, z distance based on the Kinect. The z is the distance between the camera and this. The z is the distance from the camera to the subject, y is the upward movement, and the x is the horizontal movement. The tracking motion provides us with 3 facilities: the track, whether the Kinect is tracking or the Kinect is not tracking, and the input. The input position or the input state comes into the picture when somebody moves sideways and a part of body is not being recognized properly. In order to conduct a study, we used inertial sensors, which was a motion inertial sensor. It is a proprietary product of Nolex company, USA. It has It provides a high-end measurement and training devices for 2D and 3D motion analysis. Portable motion, it also provides us a facility for portable motion capture, and it wirelessly transmits the data, providing 3 degrees of freedom for the joints. It has a static accuracy of plus minus 0.4 and a dynamic accuracy of plus minus 1.2 degrees. We kept this as a standard or baseline for our study. My motion system. It consists of inertial sensor that is seen in the first figure, and it transmits it with the telemetry to a wireless receiver which is connected to the USB. The data provided from the software is in terms of Excel files, MATLAB, or document files. It provides full body model. It consists of 16 sensors. 16 sensors can model the whole body with 15 joints and 22 angles, as shown in this figure. Okay, now moving to this slide, EMG electromyograph. This was one of the part of our study and one of the equipment that we use. We use the surface EMGs as shown in the first figure, and the second figure shows the joint, the lower limbs that we focus for our study. It was a non-invasive assessment tool using the same protocol. Now we will come into the first study that we conducted, feasibility study of markerless gate tracking using Kinect. This study has already been published in one of the journals, last month. The objective of this study was to study the utility of Kinect camera in tracking joint motion from sitting to standing position as shown in the earlier figure, to analyze the temporal dynamic movement using side to side and coronal planes. Compare the motion characterization using this Kinect system as a markerless as well as a marker-based system. For the experiment setup, we used the Kinect camera was placed at a distance of 1.8 meters from the subject, and the room had ambient conditions. Circular markers were placed over the joints, the right shoulder, right elbow, right hip, right knee, and right ankle. Subject was asked to perform the motor skill sit to stand without any hand support. This is how the marker-based the circular patches were applied on the subject for markers to take them as a marker. Kinect RGB camera output mode was used to record the motion of the subject. Centroid of each marker was calculated for each frame, and its x and y coordinates were determined. X and y coordinates were later used in the development with the developed application for calculating the angles formed between the joints. The angle formed between all of these joints. For the markerless analysis, we use a skeleton feature. The developed application was used to calculate the joint angles using the vector transformation during the task, and all the angles were computed real time while the task was being performed. Both the features were simultaneously recorded by the Kinect camera. These are the 6 features for which the joint angles were calculated. A, B, C, D, E, F. Workflow of the study. For the Kinect initialization was done. Skeleton generation was provided for the subject, and for the subject tracking and joint angles were calculated. Similarly, for the marker placement was done on the joints which were zeroed in on, and post calibration was done. Motor skill, the sit to stand task was performed. Joint angles for markers were calculated. Data analysis was done from both the system. The data derived from both the system was analyzed at a later period. Now we're talking about how the angles were calculated for the Kinect data using it as a marker-based system. In this figure, we can see that there are 3 joints: hip, knee, and ankle, providing x, y, and z coordinates. A and B are the vectors between the joints. In order to calculate the angle between the joints, we use a cos theta, a dot b upon normalized vector a and b. For the marker-based system, we used MATLAB for getting the values for marker-based system. Angles were calculated based on marker placed over the joints. The developed algorithm subtracted successive strain from each other, pixel by pixel, and applied a threshold was applied to obtain the markers. Centroid for each markers were determined by calculating the region of interest. Foreground segmentation, vector transformation, and structural elements were used to generate the for markers. Here, this figure shows the angle calculation for the marker-based system, which we had done in the MATLAB. The correlation coefficient that we found with these angles and the Kinect angles, it was around 90.16% between the Kinect camera marker-based and marker-based system. These are the results for the joint angles. The red one indicates the skeletal, and the blue one indicates the RGB data. The most important thing that we arrived from this figure was, although there have been some kind of differences in the angle for RGB and skeletal, which was expected, but the important thing was that the angles they are following the same path, although with a difference. And the last figure shows the similarity matrix for RGB and skeletal data. The conclusion for the study one was derived that Kinect camera is able to track the subject for the task that has been applied earlier. Kinect was able to track the markers based on the subject using RGB camera and markerless tracking using skeleton. The shoulder joint had the maximum correlation coefficient 96%. Elbow joint 90%. The least was for the hip joint. The reason for the hip joint for being such a low correlation was that it was actually very difficult to analyze where to put the markers on the subject and where the Kinect skeleton is perceiving it. Now, this is the second study that we conducted. Accuracy of joint angle tracking using markerless motion system. The study for the second paper is ready and for the submission in journal. The objective was to evaluate the accuracy of Kinect system as a low-cost, non-invasive system that can track and analyze a wide range of motion. The angles formed by the motion of certain joints will be calculated using markerless Kinect system and Maya motion system that we have discussed earlier. The experiment setup for this study was different as compared to the previous study. The subject was placed at a distance of 1.8 meters from the Kinect was placed at a distance of 1.8 meters from the subject at a height of 85 centimeters from the ground. The room had air conditions. The subject was asked to perform sit-to-stand task without arms, with arms away from his body for calibration. Kinect skeletal features was used to track the mentioned joints, and raw data for the joints were calculated in terms of x, y, and z coordinates. Angles for the joint was calculated by crossing the raw coordinates that we derived from the Kinect. The experimental setup for inertial sensor was by strapping the sensors over the subject joints, and the sit-to-stand task was performed for six times for 3 trials. The data was collected using the proprietary software of Nodexon, and the angles were exported over Excel file for further processing. This is the subject with the inertial sensors. This is the subject with the inertial sensors placed on his body and the Kinect camera in front of him for analyzing the data. Workflow of study. The basic feature for the Kinect calculation of joint was similar to the previous studies, the first study that we had conducted. The difference being the placement of sensors for the subject and post-calibration for the Maya motion system. The data collected from both of these studies were analyzed together for getting the results, for getting the desired results. Data processing. The inertial, there was a difference for data processing comparing the two data from inertial sensor and Maya motion. There was an issue that we had to overcome. Inertial sensors calculated the data at a speed of 100 frames per second, but Kinect captured data at a speed of 30 frames per second. There was a disparity between the two frame rates. In order to overcome this issue, Kinect data was scaled to the time frame of inertial sensors to make them of same length. Interpolation was used to construct new data points for Kinect, and normalized root mean square and correlation was derived for the data for inertial and the Kinect. In order to calculate the normalized root mean square and correlation coefficient, we use this formula. The energy of the vector was normalized to 1 using this equation, using the first equation, and root mean square was derived over the normalized vector to get the RMSE values between the inertial data and the Kinect data. Correlation coefficient was also calculated for the inertial and the Kinect data over the standard deviation of inertial and Kinect. In this video, we talk about the hip joints and the normalized root mean square and correlation values that were generated. The blue band. Yes.
You may move to the other side to explain.
And then
On the ship, you go there, yes.
I have to be recalibrated.
You made me dizzy.
Thank you for that.
You made me dizzy.
Okay, in this figure, we are talking about the hip joint for the for the Kinect, which was in front of the subject. The red graph that you see in the figure, it is for the Kinect, and the blue one is for the Maya motion. The blue ones, the graph for the blue, for the movement, it shows quite clear graph because it's a standard system which had a standard marker-based system, and which was expected to give perfect result. But using the Kinect for the hip motion, we were expecting some kind of deviation, but the relationship was really, but the correlation was not good enough for the hip joint. The correlation values for the hip was around 0.5%, and the errors were high.
May I ask what's in here?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what's the reason why the correlation coefficients in the hip joint is less than the others?
Yeah.
Is it because you cannot indicate the position when you put the sensors or something like that?
No, that was for the first case.
Yes.
For this case, the reason is that Kinect detects the body in a 20 joint system. This is the hip center, and this is the hip left and the hip right. But for the Maya motion, it uses sensors placed on thigh and a sensor at the back of that's the spine. So it gives a precise result between the two movements. But for the Kinect, it is difficult to analyze the hip joint and its movement.
Well, don't you think that by the help of any physiological specialist or something like that who knows the human body physiology can help putting the sensor in suitable places that might increase or give good indication for the correlation?
One of the project doctor he's a physiotherapist. He was in the project, and Dr. Abdulaziz, and he was the one who was using the Maya motion, and it has got a specific guidelines where to exactly place it on the body for getting the desired results. But for Kinect, it has got around 2 lakh library databases through which it generates a skeleton. perceiving the subject in front of it and then analyzing it. And based on that, it generates a skeleton for the joints for the subject. So there is a kind of disparity for the hip where exactly it is located, because it has got a high degree of freedom. And when we sit and stand up, there is an X and Y and Z axis which move along for the movement. As we go to the next slide, we will be discussing further why it's happening. As we see for the knee joint, the correlation is really good for the Maya motion and the kinect. This is the average values for. Go to the other side.
Go to the other side to explain.
The correlation values for the kinect and the Maya motion is quite visible that they follow the same path. And the reason for being so well correlated to each other was that the joint between the for the knee is having only 1 degree of freedom, and the movement is quite easily visible, and there is and this is the reason why the correlation happens to be great for this joint. This is the ankle joint that we came for the kinect and the Maya motion. It looks very much distorted because there is a very small range of deviation for the ankle, and that's the reason why we are getting such a low correlation value for ankle and a higher error rate for them. And the reason why the hip and the ankle joints, they have a lower correlation will be discussed in the conclusion part for this topic, for this study. The kinect camera is able to, the conclusion that we derived from this study was kinect camera is able to track the lower limb, which is in sync with the marker-based inertial sensors. High correlation was achieved for knee and lower for ankle and hip. For the normalized root mean square error for knee is lower, normalized root mean square error for knee is lower than hip and ankle. There is a third study that we conducted for this topic. Accuracy of joint angle using multiple kinect marker-based system and accuracy. This was one of the main features for deciding on this project. We wanted to see whether if we are using 2 or more kinects, are we going to get a better results, or can it be helpful for tracking the subject in a much precise manner. The objective for this study was to evaluate the accuracy of multiple kinect system as low-cost motion tracking system. The angles formed by the motion of lower limbs joints, that is knee, hip and ankle, will be calculated using marker-less kinect system and a marker-based Maya motion system. The experimental setup for inertial sensor and the kinect. In this slide, we will talk about the inertial setup. The inertial sensor setup for Maya motion was same as of study 2. In this study, the most important thing was that we tried placing kinect in different positions so that we get a better result. The front camera, the side camera, diagonal camera, and this one was the heart of this study. Using multiple kinect camera, one front kinect camera and the side camera together synchronized also for our study. The kinect setup was same as study 1 with changes in position of kinect. Workflow of study was same. The workflow for the study is same as 2 with the only difference in kinect positions. Okay, now in this figure we will be talking about the normalized root mean square and correlation analysis for the front kinect. Front kinect means the kinect is in front of the subject as shown in the figure with inertial sensor placed on his body. From this study we found, in this study we found out that left knee and the right knee, they have a really high correlation values and a very low error rate. But hip and ankle, they have a higher error and a lower correlation for this study when the kinect is in front of the subject. This study, the normalized root mean square error and correlation analysis for side kinect. This study was one of the key studies that we wanted to see with the side kinect how it will function and how it is going to provide us the data, whether it will be providing us really good data as compared with the front or not. This study would have been key to for the physiotherapist and for tracking the subject, but it didn't work out. What we see is we see the error rates and the correlation for this data was really very bad. It was not at all good as compared to the front camera. All the correlation values for all the joints were like 0.5, and whatever the joint angles which were hidden from the camera, they gave very poor correlation values. Like if you see as it is in the left side have at least a better correlation value, that is 0.4. But when we go to the right side, it's 0.2 per 0.2, very low correlation values, which was initially not expected. This study for the diagonal kinect, this study came out of a blue while we were discussing and we were not moving anywhere forward with the front and side kinect. Dr. Murphy said, why don't you try with the diagonal, let's see what happens with the values. And after trying that, we found out that the correlation values were very high for the knee and lower values for the left hip and the right hip, and similarly for left and right angles. And the normalized root mean square error was also similar to the error we received. We got it from the front kinect. Now this was the key feature for the front and the kinect, front and the side kinect. We used it as a combined feature together for synchronizing the data from both of them and for the task being performed. We were expecting to receive good, really good values for the joints, but especially at least for the left side of the kinect camera. But we didn't get the great results for the correlation, even the errors were higher for these values. We will be discussing about in the next slides why the errors were so high for the kinect cameras in the discussion part. Just a early thing. Front camera has a high. From this study, we conclude that front camera has higher correlation and lower error than side, diagonal, and combined. Front kinect has higher correlation due to the fact that kinect is able to predict the hip center, which is the starting position for generating the joint. And other joints are not input, as was the case with side and other position of the camera. We came to the conclusion after implementing multiple kinect was adding additional camera does not improve the performance of the system. This was the fourth study that we conducted for this project and thesis. We wanted to characterize the correlation parameters of EMG signal with the feature representing the motion obtained through kinect. The objective of this study was to track the motion using kinect and EMG for the sit-to-stand task, correlate the changes angle during task for lower limbs, that is neck, knee, hip and ankle, using kinect with muscle firing activities captured by EMG signal. Experiment setup for the SEMG. SEMGs were based on the subject SEMG that I have shown earlier in the EMG slide. We were based on the subject with the help of adhesive tapes. Subject was asked to perform the motor skill of sit-to-stand without any hand support for 5 repetitions. The data for my motion was recorded using the Horizon MR3 proprietary software. The my motion provided the raw data output for joint angles in terms of axle. The experiment setup for Kinect was same as of study 1 and study 2 and study 3. In this slide, we see that these are the EMG sensors placed on the subject, and this is a sensor transmitter, EMG sensor transmitter, and the EMG sensor transmitter is during the task being performed with the Kinect in front of it. The workflow of the study was for the Kinect study it was similar to the previous studies, and in this study we saw that the subject was selected and EMG sensors were placed, post calibration, motor skills performed. The data derived from this is the important feature here. The joint angles for the markers and joint angles calculated for these data were analyzed together. Okay, this is the data that this is the result that we got from Kinect and the Kinect and the EMG sensor. The red one is the Kinect data and the blue one is the EMG data. So in order, there was no way in which we could go for error accuracy for them as of now, because this was the raw data that we got. But the most important, but the surprising fact was that when the transition is happening from sit to stand or change of position, we see a spike whether it's the person moving from sitting to standing or standing to sitting. The correlation found between these two different kind of data was very low, because one is the muscle firing activity and other is the angle calculation. The conclusion for the study was that Kinect is able to track the motion simultaneously with EMG sensor. Change in angle for lower limbs correlate to the muscle firing activity. Although there is further work which could be done here was calculating what is the change happening in the angle when the EMG muscle firing activity happens. But due to some delays and due to the problems, we were not in a position to satisfy the criteria as of now. Now let's come to the overall conclusion. The objective defined at the start of the project were achieved in 4 different studies by dividing them into 4 different studies. Kinect, being a portable and low cost, has a potential for to be used as a markerless motion system. Kinect can work as a marker-based system as well as markerless system depending on the requirement. Kinect is able to detect the changes in the knee better than hip angle, as we have concluded in the studies earlier. Knee angle is better detected due to the fact that it is an intermediate joint and has almost 1 degree of freedom, and movement has a higher motion. High and hip and ankle joints have complex structures and show minimal motion, making it difficult for Kinect to track the changes. In this slide, the conclusion, move further with the conclusion. Kinect performs best when the subject is facing in front of the camera, as we have seen in the studies 3, while calculating the front, side, and the multiple Kinect cameras. Changes in the angle for joint detects by the Kinect follow the changes in the muscles, as we have studied, as we have found in study 4. future works. This is one of the key things that at least we would like to see Kinect happening in the Kinect. Improvement in Kinect as a hardware as well as its software would be much appreciated for its depth detection, bringing better motion tracking facility. Because with each further release, the SDK provided by Microsoft brings up some new features. Further development in skeletal tracking is needed to define the body joint for accurate tracking. Further work needs to be done to achieve better correlation between Kinect and EMG, which may bring down the rehabilitation cost drastically. This is a very key feature that would be interesting if we or somebody else could work on. Kinect has huge potential to be used for motion tracking in rehabilitation, surveillance, retail, and other features. See, a formal acknowledgement. I was giving it for the end. Anyway, you got in the picture. I would like to thank Dr. Morfett for his belief in me that I am able to do the project, and Dr. Nazi for all his support. And without him, it was not possible for me to go. If he would have not fired me, he would have not shouted at me, you need to do this way and that way, it would have been very difficult to get this far. And Dr. Baji, I will especially thank him. He has been like my elder brother. Whatever, he is a professor, but he is like my elder brother. He is the one who has helped me in all the troubles. And he is the one who believed me that, okay, he made me think that it's very easy, you can do it just by doing this and that, giving me all the great ideas. Dr. Ehab for his uninterrupted support, calling him anytime and struggling with me with the subject.
Physiotherapist is the School of Physical Therapy in the medical school. Show his background, that your board was revised by a physiotherapist who is specialized and who is going to make use of your work. His background is important to mention.
He is an assistant professor in the Faculty of Applied Medicine Science, and he is a specialized physiotherapist. And he was the fourth member of he was the fourth professor, my supervisor for this project. He is the key person who has brought this idea of using technology to be used in a rehabilitation process or in a hospital. He brought us with the thing that what is the task that we need to perform for motion analysis. And we built on his idea so that it could be used for some rehabilitation purpose. And by the way, he told me that the project has been, there are few people who are interested in this work to be used it outside or some hospital or somewhere on improvement of it. And he was there with me, slogging in from morning to evening for getting the results for the subjects. And I would also like to thank Dr. Ahmad Baramash.
He was one of the subjects also.
Yeah, he was one of the subjects. I had a video for him. Shaving his legs for me to.
He shaved his legs. Can you imagine?
He shaved his legs for me so that I could get the image database and the values for that. It was really nice of him for helping me with all the subjects and everything. And I would also like to thank Dr. Ahmad Baramash. He helped me out where I got stuck and we didn't know how to correlate the two different kind of signals and get the values from them so that they are so that we could get the desired results. I would also like to thank Turbi, my friend. He is the one who has helped me with the translation of Arabic in translation of my thesis in Arabic, which you see at the end of the thesis, and for helping me to pull and his suggestion for submitting one of the videos to the YouTube, which has got like 500-600 likes as of now, and Rami for his help in getting me my thesis printed and everything, and Abdullah Hussain for his support for getting the MATLAB ideas and how to implement on the studies, one of the studies. And on top of that, I would like to also thank my family, my mother who passed away, for bringing me up and giving me the values so that I could proceed. thank you, and please Robert for a question.
I think this is one of the best works
Thank you so
we
much.
have done in our department. I have some points,
Yes, please.
and I will give you at each time. I will give you time to answer quickly. First of all, we have some minor problems in editing. I think it is easy. I have done here at the
Thank you so much for implement those things.
I suggest to change workflow to flow chart. It is more specific and it is more professional. Flow chart.
Okay.
And we will see also the correlation values. It is correlation coefficient because we have a lot. We have many algorithms based on correlation. We have correlation coefficient. We have correlation, cross correlation, autocorrelation. So we have to be specific here. You have used correlation coefficient.
Yes.
It is important to change. Also, according to the root mean square, I would like to see again the equation. I think we have problem. We have to change it. Go manually.
Yeah, you go memory.
Technology is not always helpful.
That would make you, force you to do some exercise.
Since morning it was like 240 times I have moved my hand.
So we can track this motion and evaluate your elbow.
Root mean square error.
Yes, please.
Disconnect the camera.
No, it's nothing related to the. Like, I was using application, so it doesn't allow other PowerPoints to work.
Okay.
And going from there to that slide, it will be very difficult. That's one. Yes, sir.
Okay. It is root mean square error, but I see here it is root square error. What is the mean? If you like to be mean square error, you have to divide into the number of samples.
Okay, that part I didn't into the coding, but while writing it, I'm sorry for
You have to change it and also normalize. We don't have here normalize. If you call it normalize, you have to show in
Okay, equation.
the equation by means of the symbol. Yes, there is a symbol non-normalized, for normalization.
By the way, this first equation does not make any sense.
First equation.
First equation. What is this equation?
This equation we use to normalize the energy of vector to 1 and then using the normalize the vector.
Normalize the energy of the
Energy of
vector
the
to be 1. So that you remove the effect of amplifications, remove the effect of side effects. So you have the total energy to be 1 of all vectors.
So does this equation means really tell us about the amplitude?
Yeah. Also, the correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient is the covariance. XY divided by standard deviation of X. Yes, but there we don't have. It should be covariance
Yes.
for mathematically speaking.
Okay.
It is not the error between them, but it is the covariance. covariance. Please change it. If you would like to make publication, good publication, you have to.
And the normalization is where it's not you divide it by the summation of it. It's you have to divide it off the standard deviation. So the equation is normalized, you need to fix it.
Okay. In the theoretical part, I will tell you
Covariance divided by the standard deviation of x and y. Standard deviation of y. Okay. Quickly,
yes.
I would like to mention here that this work lies under biomechanics.
Yes.
But you have been used the terminology, the specific terminology of the biomechanics. Each gas chart, each motion has its own name, you know.
Yes. There's a traverse motion, the coronal motion, and the cyclical planes. And I didn't use it because, yeah, the technologies have not been used. That I will agree. Because it was becoming it was a complex task for us to exactly move around with the biomedical terminologies. So we kept it in those simple terms so that it is understandable for laymen also how the things are moving.
I think it will be more clear if we will, in the future you will use these terminology.
Yes.
The type of joint.
Yes.
It's also important. We have many joints, ball and socket and so on. Should be mentioned about it. The joint itself.
Yes.
Ball and socket. And we have different type of joints.
Agreed.
Should be mentioned.
Agreed. I agree to you, doctor. But I would like to put a point here. We are not exactly measuring the joints here, how they are, or what type of joint is happening. What is internally happening, we are not concerned about it. We are concerned about what is the movement. So if it's a ball and socket joint or some other joint, that is a completely that is a field related directly to the bio department or the doctors, you can say the figures.
But I think it will be more clear.
Okay, I'll take that consideration. Yes.
Also, I think we can do some more further investigation, particularly in frequency domain, power spectrum density, and so on. But because the correlation coefficient could not be helpful in this way. Why? Because these signals are non-stationary signals.
Yes.
So correlation coefficient is used for stationary signals only. Correlation theory, it is used only for correlation for stationary signals. So we have to be careful in this point. What about the pre-processing stage? We have to use in this domain, we have to use pre-processing, filtration and normalization and so on before giving the signal into to the evaluation, because the evaluation can give bad performance, because the correlation coefficient depends on the distance, it depends on the amplitude. So normalization is very important here, and filtration is very important. We have to see if we are in the zero limit. We don't have wandering. So it helps you a lot if you make the pre-processing.
Doctor, thanks for the question. For this study, after we got the data from two different kind of systems, we did after receiving the data, we did a pre-processing before we fed it for the correlation method. We use the normalization, we use the threshold to get the and to discard the values which were not required, and to correlate both of them for the two different kind of signals, we use the interpolation so that we fill up the missing points which we do when we are scaling them up. So we did all those things, and then we move to the next step for getting the normalized root mean square error, and then the correlation values. We did all those things to get those values. Those values were not taken independently and fed into the system to get the values. We did all these things in pre-processing in the coding.
Okay, I'm satisfied. I think it's one of the best works have been done here, and I like it.
Thank you so much. And it's all because of my supervisor. 3 of them are here, one is away.
First of all, I'd like to admire your work. It's nice done, and I appreciate the effort that you made in it. But I still have some questions. So I want you to move to the fourth study.
Fourth study. Yes.
Okay, go to the results section. Yeah, first of all, stop here. First question, what actually you are trying to correlate here?
We are trying to correlate this muscle firing activity that is happening with the angles that that we derive. Although I know that it is a correlation between 2 different apples with oranges, but basically what we initially wanted to do was to see what is if the changes in the angle happening during the transition and muscle firing, muscle activity happening during that position. What is the change in the angle with that muscle firing activity? But due to some technical issues, we were not able to get the values exactly what we were looking for.
There is no way in life that you can correlate these 2 signals directly.
Okay.
Because one is an action and one is a series of both. Like there is an interaction and action. So you need to convert one to the other.
Yes.
To compare both. So now you just correlate both together as it is. So actually the result, the one after that, is totally wrong. You are correlating totally 2 rings signal together.
I agree. We are doing correlation, but that was the essence of the study. We wanted to see if this is a change in the angle. Suppose the change in the angle for my knee is 20 degrees or 50 degrees from sitting to standing up. During that time, a muscle firing activity happens for around 400 whatever the values in the micro values for the muscle value, for the muscle value. If we are moving from this position to this position, what is the amount of muscle firing activity happening?
So you may want to correlate the changes
in the angle
change in the
with the
angle
muscle
with the
firing
muscle
activity.
firing. That may be something.
So that means the 2 figure here is wrong and the result is wrong. So you
No.
need to fix this.
I will not say that the figure is wrong. It's a kind of study that can be progressed as a different field altogether. Because this thing and
Because if I want to study the signal as an indication of the muscles action, this actually is a really good signal for me, because if you look to the sample number 2,
Yes.
you can see that the firing is actually happening
yes.
at the change. So that means it is an indication of the change in the muscle.
Yes.
But the way that you correlate two signals is not reflecting the result, because the result there is so bad. Because you actually correlating
Two different kind of signals.
but you are not correlating the action that happening in the signal.
Yes, that I agree with that. This is the thing that requires further investigation and future works. This is presently, I could do a PhD on this topic just for reading these two things. Because if you see, it's angle change in the angle with the muscle firing activity that is happening. And in order to correlate to them, if you are able, if we or somebody else is able to do that, that will be kind of a really good thing for rehabilitation purpose. It is going to bring down huge cost. Like if you know that with a change of 40 degree of angle, this much muscle activity is going to happen. So why put a sensor? Just calculate the kinect.
Let's go to the next slide.
Yes.
So let's have the result. No, I'll go back then to the third study. Anyone have result? Go again. Yes, here.
Yes.
First of all, that I need you to understand what numbers mean. Numbers is like have a meaning.
Yes.
So if you look, for example, to the normalized mean square or left hip,
Yes.
you have 0.001 0.0001572.
Yes.
That means your accuracy is up to what? 2 multiplied to the, that is too much accuracy that no way that you can have that accuracy. So actually that means you shouldn't go that far to the decimal. Like keep 2 or like 2 will be maximum.
If we are just skipping to it will be 0, 0.
Yes. So that means you have to check your normalized root mean square error, the law that you use.
Okay.
So because I'm not really sure, you shouldn't have this number. If you have a 0.4, 0.5 correlation, the error will not be 0.001. So check again the normalized root mean square error that you use.
Okay.
And even for the correlation, you cannot say 0.5025. That's too much accuracy.
That's the
These
4 digit.
These two numbers they don't match because root mean square correlation coefficient that we are getting.
Yeah, it's not reflecting the normalized.
It should be reflecting.
That's a definite. The normalized root mean square error that you use is wrong.
Okay.
So it's a definite because these numbers you cannot have 0.00144 for like 0.505 or 2 accuracy for correlation.
Okay.
You will get a little bit better than that.
Okay, I'll try to. I'll make the changes as well.
And don't write up more than 2 decimals. So 0.00 that will be more than enough. 0.50 that will be more than enough. Because you cannot claim that you have that much accuracy. Because now like this, that means you claim that you have accuracy up to how many? 8 decimals, which is no way that you can have that accuracy.
To revise the formula.
Error
Yes.
is 1.5%.
Yeah.
I'll write the formula.
Check that the formula. And one thing about the thesis itself, I need you to revise the English a little bit. There's few typo mistakes.
Okay, I'll do that.
While we're here, I have if you're finished. If you are finished, I have just a question.
Just one more question and I'm done. And the references. I just need to go again in it because the way that we use the references is wrong. The last section in your thesis, the references, what type of format do you use here? You created your own. The reference here.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean like
Okay,
Harvard reference, Oxford reference, what kind of reference is it?
API reference.
You
There are many standards.
Yeah, there are many standards. You need to
Other
fix it.
standard.
The reference here is not in the right standard.
Yes.
Sure, what KU uses.
Yes. So you need
One standard for the world.
They use Harvard here most of the time, so just fix it to Harvard style. It's easy. If you are using Word, you just try to fix it with EndNote, fix it as Harvard style.
Okay, I'll do that.
And last thing, the figure. Most of the figure here, or some of the figure here, are really small to read. So we don't have trees in the area, so we are not saving trees. Just expand the figure in the thesis. Expand the figure so that we can read it easily. So like for example, this flow chart here is so small, it's actually really hard to read.
Yeah, I kept the first chart, the first flow chart, the bigger one, it was like a similar, so I made it smaller.
Just expand the figure will be more readable.
Yes.
And thank you again for your thesis. You should explain. The hammering is the normal thing that you have faced in your file.
Dr. Nazir.
Well done, Afzal. You've done a lot of hard effort. Can you go first while we are here? So now you're using 2 cameras.
Yes.
So each camera will calculate an angle. Right? Each camera will calculate an angle.
Yes.
Right? So what is this correlation? I mean, you will have a correlation for the front camera and a correlation for the left camera.
Yes.
What is this?
There's the average values for the front and the side camera.
So this is the average for the front and the side. Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes.
So the previous one
This is the diagonal.
is diagonal. Show me front and left side. So this is left. This is front. Okay.
Yes.
So for the left knee, you have 0.8949, right?
Yes.
That's the correlation. For the front.
Yes.
Front left knee. Can you show me the side left knee? The side left knee is 0.6565, right?
Yes.
So this is by itself. So the average, if you average 0.8 and 0.6, you have to get something in between, which is 0.7. When you are using both,
We are not getting that value.
why?
There is the reason for the two cameras giving this kind of result is because they interfere with the infrared, with the projection, the infrared zone, and the results that we are getting get distorted.
Okay. Okay. So can you go to the last slide about the EMG flow chart?
There is a mistake.
Yes. This is, you're not calculating angles using the
There was
What are you calculating in the EMG?
AMG, we are calculating the muscle firing activity, the signals that are generated.
Okay. Did you explain how you do that? What data you get out of the EMG sensor?
From the EMG sensors, we get this the muscle firing activities in terms of milli-electron volt, the value for the signal. So those signals are happening when the transition is happening from sitting to standing or standing to sitting position. And those data, we get it in terms of Excel file which we can process it for our screws. And this is what the normal Kinect values for the angles. And we were here trying to determine the changes in the angle that will happen. The changes that will in the
You have to find out if there is a relation between the amount of firing and the change in the angle.
Yes.
If the change in the angle is high, is the amount of firing high, or is there a relationship or not? That's what you were trying to do,
Yes.
but you only had one subject.
Initially we tried out many subjects, but it was my mistake with the code. It didn't go well and we lost a lot of data. And at the end, we have a consolation prize that we got a good result from one of the subjects. Even Dr. Ihar is not here, but both of us tried really hard to get the data simultaneously with the inertial sensor, with the Kinect, and with the EMG, all three together based on the subject. But the Noraxon system, it failed to give the data simultaneously for inertial sensor as well as EMG sensors. And somehow we were able to calculate for one of the subject, it gave the data just with the EMG sensors.
So then I think it's important to revise the formulas with Dr. Nawar or Dr. Khalid
Yeah, sure.
and see. And then
Few questions and few comments.
Yeah, please.
First of all, you said in the very start that sit to stand motion is one of the most difficult motions.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because there are a lot of movement involved. Right from the ankle movement to the knee to the hip.
who said it's the most difficult?
No. It is not a difficult motion for us. No, as per the references and the literature reviews that I went through, it is one of the least studied topic and the most difficult in terms of the movement for the hip and
It is complex.
Complex.
It is complex but not difficult. Because if it is difficult, then we should not have been able to do it.
it is simple and easy.
Is it an opinion of a physiotherapist? Did the physiotherapist come and tell you that this is the most difficult motion? So don't claim that. You are not a physiotherapist and you are not qualified to evaluate the motion. If Dr. Ihab told you, this is unimportant,
He said
it's an unimportant motion to analyze. He did not say that it is the most difficult.
No,
There is
the
difference.
most important motion to analyze.
You have to be careful in place.
I mean, only athlete can do
Yeah,
it.
this thing is really, what I said. If it is so difficult, then really we should take 10 years to learn about it. Kids, they should not be learning it very quickly. Okay, about the robustness of markerless and the marker-based analysis trends. Do you have some comments about that? Which one of them is more robust? And if you know about some method which is more robust, then why do we want to go for something which is not robust?
Okay, please come once again with the question.
Okay, you are saying there is a markerless tracking and there is marker-based tracking.
Yes.
Which one of them is more robust?
If we go for the more robust system, definitely it's the marker-based system. It's much more robust. That is the standard system that is used for tracking the motion.
Then why necessarily you want to go for markerless?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Dr. that you have raised. For the marker-based systems, you need to place a marker on the body of the subject for any movement it does. But for a marker-based system, as we see for this Kinect Xbox, for the marker-based system, I don't have to put any sensors on my body. So it's not restricting my movement. Although it has got a range of field view through which only I can navigate. But for the marker-based motion, it is going to be very limited space. You can't move far with it. And the other most important thing why marker-based system we consider, which is not as accurate as the marker-based system, is the cost effectiveness. A single coder motion or coder motion system, or if you go for a Maya motion inertial sensor, or with any other, the visual help, other marker-based system, they are very expensive. Initially, we asked for getting up a coder motion or marker-based system. The inertial system that we tried out, they cost like 150,000 Saudi riyals.
So which one of them is more expensive?
Marker-based.
Marker-based system is more expensive than markerless.
Yes. Marker-based systems.
Systems to perform data analysis are very expensive and they require huge space.
You mean, okay, it depends on the algorithms that they are using. But baseline system, what is my understanding, even this guy, this is also doing marker-based, isn't it? Can also do. People they have done it with the marker-based. Because it's research of Kinect actually started from the
Marker-based, yes. It started with marker-based.
Originated from there. Okay, and then the people they put actually my understanding is they put more to make it markerless, not less.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
Let me quickly clarify this. Yes, you're right. They put more effort to make it available for people, but on the other hand, they produce more and sell more. So that's why it's become like far away, much lower price. A markerless system now will cost you around 200, 300 Saudi riyal, the expensive one. A marker-based system will cost you more than 100,000 Saudi riyal, because that's the price of the marker, the price of the setup, the price of everything. So the markerless system, yes, requires more scientific work behind it, but they sell more. So that's what brings the price down.
There is one point, Dr. Ihab, and he was on vacation, I'm sorry, vacation, but there is one point that he told me, one of the patients get irritated because they asked them to shave their legs, and that's why we were laughing about it.
Yeah,
You need to shave the areas that you will put the markers in there, and many of them refuse to do that.
Okay, the third thing is you were saying myomotion.
Yes.
So can you just explain what type of sensors they are?
Okay.
Just,
They have the inertial sensors, they have.
It's a company.
myomotion is named of
It's the name of the company. Name of the product.
I thought it is myoelectric
Oh,
sensor.
no.
That is the name of the product of the
Okay, so these are basically inertial sensors.
inertial sensors.
Inertial sensors, okay. Now once they are inertial sensors, so are they giving you the absolute values? Because generally what my understanding is that the inertial sensors, most of them they are rate sensors. Okay, that's why you can see that in all of your plots you are getting peaks.
Yes.
Only in the case of this inertial sensors, isn't it? But in the case of all others you are getting smooth corners or something like this.
Yes.
So you are getting peaks there. So in those peaks there is rate. So did you try to do something for that rate?
No.
Because unless you do something for that rate, I doubt that your results they are correct. The motions that you are detecting they are correct.
Yes.
Because you can see it is the motion. Simple means you you have the motion and you take the first derivative, you get the velocity, and you take another derivative, you get the acceleration.
Yes.
And your accelerometer, for example, if one of the sensors is accelerometer, so
Yeah.
it is giving you acceleration.
Yes.
So if you want to go for the absolute position or the real motion, so you have to integrate it for 2 times, isn't it? You have to integrate it for 2 times. Okay, and once you have integrated it for 2 times, so you have to take care of the zero bias, you have to take care of the initial conditions, you have to do many more things. Otherwise, means the results are out, that they can be correct.
The data that we are receiving or the results that we are receiving from the inertial sensors, that is like a closed system that the company is giving.
No, that company, does it say that the sensor is giving you the motions?
It is giving the changes in the angle.
Yeah.
So that is rate. Once you are using rate, so I think you have to definitely use it actually, because you are going to compare it with something that is the absolute motion, so the real motion. Once it is real motion, how can you compare it with something that is coming as rate? And perhaps I think the error in your all these correlation coefficients and all this stuff is because of this, because you are not really getting the true values. You have to, you can see it. If you can just show one of the plots where you have the red and blue. Not this one, the previous one. Here I doubt that you actually swapped. Okay, just see here. The peaks here, in the blue, they are much more prominent than in red.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I suspect, that there is some problem.
The blue is what? The
This is the my motion. And the next plot, I think you swapped it. I don't.
No.
The next one, next page.
This one?
Yes.
No, I
Here,
didn't say.
because your inertial sensors cannot give you these very smooth peaks. They cannot-
This one?
Yes.
They give the initial, they give the smooth peaks.
Blue one.
Yeah, they give the smooth peaks.
Or either they are saturated. There is some problem.
No, this for the knee angle. I have, for all the subjects that I have found the values, the knee is like this. They are smooth functions. But for the hip,
No, just see one thing. Here all your values, they are less than peak, isn't it?
yes.
That's why you are seeing these all fast motions. True?
This one, these are not basically the fast motions.
Okay, so
It's kind of a movement. It's happening from calculating the x and y axis, and it's giving two kind of values for.
He's talking about distortion, like look to the blue
Distortion.
signal. The blue
exactly
signal
at the
will
point
have
of
higher.
change, exactly at the point of change, you are seeing peak.
Yes.
Okay, and then another peak. True?
Yes.
But in next page, there is nothing like that.
Yeah.
You can see the peak in a little peak in the red one.
In the red one, not in the blue one.
No, the red one is for the Kinect. Because with the Kinect, I'll never get a knee with 100 degrees.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it seems okay, but I don't know about the bias.
Show the knee in another study.
To
So
clarify.
it means this is really happening, then that is definitely adding to the correlation.
Yeah.
Our normalized results, they should be wrong. Because in every portion we are getting something wrong.
Yeah.
أفضل تركي جديد دراسة.
Dr. Manor, if you see this one, this is for the hip angle that we are getting directly from the inertial sensor. For the same subject, this is the hip value, this is the knee values. And for the same subject, this is the ankle. So it is for the same subject that we are getting the smooth function, the movement, that is we are seeing, and this for the angle.
Magnitude is quite big.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it's not appealing. There are still slight peaks.
One last thing, if you can, about this EMG sensors. Okay, so means exactly what Dr. said. So you cannot really do the correlation between these two things. What my understanding is that basically for every joint there is a pair of muscles. There is always a pair. Is it true?
Yes.
So
Pair of what?
pair of muscles.
Muscles.
For every joint.
Yeah.
And muscles, they only have the contracted motion, not the expanded. They cannot expand. They just relax or they contract. So this is what it is. So once there is a muscle firing, so they are going to contract. And once there is the diffusion of ions and there is you can interpret. So they just relax. So if you are going to analyze motion, so you will have to definitely see the motion of that pair of muscles simultaneously. Otherwise, it is not comprehensible, right? Because you are the injection of those ions. It is also an impulsive. The muscle firing is an impulsive action. So if we see even in that one, so sometimes if you are, for example, lifting some mass, something here, and you try to keep it there, so if you see the muscle activity here, so what you will see that it is continuously firing. It is continuously firing. It is not that it is going there and it is staying there. So it is firing. Why? Because the ions, they are being injected and they are being diffused, and then again another firing activity happens and so on and so forth. So if we are going to analyze some motion, so we have to see both here, because there is both of them, they are compatible. So I hope means if we do both of them, perhaps we can get something out of this.
Thank you very much
Thank you
for
very much.
attending. Now the committee will continue, and Afzal and our guests, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.